Arielle, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. How you doing as you get set for yet another foray into the CrossFit Open?
I know. Thanks for having me. I was just saying I'm enjoying my last few weeks of off season before it starts all back over and all the craziness again.
I want to go back to last year going into the Granite Games. And I remember you saying something about how, hey, I just came here to get my nameplate so I could decorate my new house. What were your
Right.
expectations going into that event?
Oh, exactly kind of what I just said. I wanted to punch that ticket. I felt like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. I was just there for a golden ticket. I didn't expect to get the whole chocolate factory. But it's funny because me and my husband were reflecting on this the other day, and we were talking with friends before the Granite Games. And I was telling him, like, oh, I really don't want this to end. I'm having so much fun. I want to keep training. And he's like, what do you mean keep training? After the Granite Games, it's over. Because we've just never, I mean, we've tried for regionals so many times. We never thought what would happen and we'd go to the game. So it's fun to reflect back on it now.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned that so many years for regional. A lot of people might not know, but like you've been competing for a while now. You've been doing the Open since 2013. You've been at regional since 2014. What was the shift then for you once you did qualify? Was it everything you had expected compared to what you had tried, or was it just kind of a surreal moment for you?
The shift once I qualified.
Yeah, yeah. Because like you've been trying, you've been competing for a while, and then suddenly, I don't want to say haphazardly, but unexpectedly qualify.
Right.
How did that moment ultimately stack up?
It was very stressful, if I'm going to be honest,
Hmm.
because I qualified and I didn't really know what to do from there. And I was like, okay, I guess I need to run more. I guess I need to swim more. And so I was kind of overwhelmed by the beast of the games, if you were to say, and how do you train for the unknown and the unknowable? So that season was fun training for it, but it was extremely stressful and overwhelming because it's like, okay, am I doing the right things? I'll
Hmm.
find out in Madison. Am I lifting heavy enough? I'll find out in Madison. Just all the unknowns.
Going through the Granite Games last year and on your way towards, like you said, getting the whole chocolate factory, what clicked for you there that maybe hadn't fallen into place in the past?
Oh, it sounds crazy to say, but I felt like I had God's peace the whole Granite Games experience. So just knowing where my worth is, where my value is, and who God says I am versus, okay, I have to make it to the games, I have to make it to the games. Just a sense of peace that I could tell some other competitors didn't have, which was definitely a strong point because I was just out there to have fun
Hmm.
and it paid off for sure.
Yeah. How do you get to that sense of peace? I mean, whether it's, outside factors and things in your life that have developed over time. I'm curious because, if you go back and look at your competitive history, you finished 3 spots outside of qualifying in 2014. You've been at top 10 at regional since in, 2017, 12th, 15th, bunch of different times getting incredibly close. So what things allowed you in your development as a human to find that peace in the end?
It all started back when I first got pregnant back in 2018. Found out I was pregnant at regionals, kind of had the identity crisis of, okay, I'm not supposed to be pregnant. I'm supposed to make it to the games. So in that year, I lost my identity, but found a new identity in Christ. And starting 2021 season, January 1st, me and I'm in a little community group. We always do, it's called 48 minutes of prayer. So for 48 minutes, we just pray and try and get like a word for the year. What does the Lord want to tell us? And that year, he told me, seek, and through seeking, you'll be fulfilled greater than your richest feast. And so I started January 1st just by seeking, which was reading my Bible every day and praying, just like little things that I feel like your pastor tells you to do, but you never sit down and actually do it. And so in that moment, who knew that like seeking and just being faithful in the little things, he would bless me so much in the big things.
After the Granite Games, and then you said you'll find out if you're doing the right things and you go to the games. What did you learn going through your first CrossFit Games experience? Because you did extremely well, finishing 14th overall.
Thank you. I feel like I learned a lot. Number one, everybody has a Yeti cooler with food. I was I was the newbie who literally didn't, all I bought was granola bars. So, and when I needed food, I would tell my husband, like, okay, can you go venture to Vendor Village and try and cut in line again to grab me food? So I felt like a rookie in that sense. And then I just learned that, Oh man. So I watched the games for so long online.
Mhm.
You know, they say, okay, alert on my phone on Facebook. Individual women are going live at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. Being at the games, I didn't realize that means you do an event, you sit backstage, so it's the next event, and then you go again. You sit backstage, you go again. Just the mental toughness you have to sit backstage, cool down. Okay, here's the next workout. Warm up, compete. Okay, now relax your brain. Here's the next workout. Just the mental fortitude that some of these athletes have. I learned a lot. What I don't see on camera and all that happens behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. And kind of diving into that a step deeper, I guess, because you do look around and maybe see some athletes have their process. You know, after the first day, you started to put together a few workouts. You closed day one with a sixth. You started to put some better performances on the board, and I'm curious what ultimately was your process in managing that once you kind of got settled.
I kind of saw that these people backstage are human. I had always built them up on this huge pedestal, but I was like, okay, I got six. Oh my gosh, look at the people I beat. They are human. They feel pain. The thrusters wall walk was just as hard for me as it was for everybody else. So it kind of just built up my confidence that they're not these superhuman people that I've seen on Facebook watching the games for so many years. Like I can get them. And so day by day, my confidence grew, and I feel like it's just grown ever since.
What then did you do to address the things that you kind of found out when you're at the games about mental fortitude and being prepared and training? What have you now done to make sure that you're not caught off guard again if you wind up making it to the games in 2022?
I've taken a little bit more control.
Mm-hmm.
So Granite Games and going into the games, I had a coach and I did exactly what the coach said. So then I went to the games and I found, okay, I didn't feel 100% prepared. If I don't want to do this, I'm going to speak up and say, I need to do this instead. Where before I was just blindly like being pulled by a horse. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but now I know what's expected. And so I'm going to take a little bit of control over what I want to do in the gym and let my coach kind of go back and forth with that.
Mm. And I guess like at the games, because I'm looking at the results here and everything like that, and as far as like performance goals, what were your initial goals coming in once you stepped onto the floor in Madison, and did that shift at all? With the announcements of the cuts halfway through, where there would be a dividing line between the top 20 getting to finish the weekend.
Oh, totally. The goal was always don't get cut. Don't get cut, because selfishly, like at this point, I don't have any sponsors, so I'm not making any money by being there. I'm actually paying to be there. So I was like, I want to not get cut so I can pay for my hotel room and my flight. You know what I mean? Selfishly like that. Once I saw I was in the top 20, this is actually a funny story. It was going into the last event. My husband's backstage with me, and he's my coach because he just knows me better than anyone. And we're going into the last event, and he's like, okay, we're building a house. Let me preface that. He's like, if you do really good on this last event, we can get quartz instead of granite. If you don't do as good, we can pay for the floor. And so I told him, I was like, after it was all said and done, I was like, I know you were trying to make a joke, but never again do that backstage right before the event. Oh yeah. In the moment, I was like, don't talk to me. I can't do this.
Yeah. Sometimes husbands, we mean well and we say what we think is going to help, but sometimes we're better off by just, keeping our mouths shut and just being there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
was so funny.
That's funny. You are one of the few people that compete as a mother. How do you balance those two? Because when you become a parent, you're not a priority anymore. It's all about your child, but you do have to make yourself a priority to train the way you need to train in order to be, have any sort of success at the games. What has that process been like for you?
It's been a learning adjustment, but I've found what works for me, and it works awesome. I've switched gyms as of January or February, I should say. And this new gym has its own childcare room with like a glass door. So she has millions of toys. She has snacks. She has a TV if she needs TV. So I've learned I have 2 hours a day that she is watching a movie, or she's playing with toys that she's content, she's happy, she's fed. So I get 2 hours of intentional using every minute of those 2 hours training, and then that's all I get a day, which is fine because I get everything I need to do in 2 hours done, which might take some athletes 4 hours. I just have to crunch it. But I've learned what's been the hardest part is I'll finish these training sessions, then I'll go home and it's like, okay, I don't get to just make my lunch and sit on the couch and recover and eat. I'm still getting her lunch while I'm getting lunch, making, it doesn't end leaving the gym. It's like, okay, now I have to try and recover while feeding a human and taking care of all that stuff.
Yeah. But you mentioned a second ago that, you were competing at, without sponsors and things like that. And so whether it's, an upgrade in the type of rock that goes into your countertops,
right.
I'm curious what other opportunities have been afforded to you since the games, because, making the top 20, finishing 14th, having a few standout performances can be a difference maker for some athletes.
Yeah. The biggest thing, which I was kind of naive to, is I expected after the games to just get Instagram messages of like, hey, we want you. Here's the deal. We'll start paying you monthly. But after about a month or two, like nothing happened. So I actually hired an agent and he's been extremely helpful. His name's Jared Grable. And he's gotten me with Born Primitive, which is an awesome company, the WODproof app, and right now RPM. And those three have just been such a blessing to me already. But I was just naive to think everybody would flock to me. But in reality, that's not how it is.
Yeah. Did you do the RPM 10K challenge? I don't know. I did it this year. I don't know if they roped you into that.
No, I did not. I actually, I'm so excited. I got my Atom kit delivered yesterday.
I got mine too. Mine today, actually. Funny enough.
Okay, yeah. So we're installing it this weekend, and of course, I'll make my post about it. But I was like, of course, RPM. I was like, okay, a jump rope would be great. So to get this huge Atom kit, I was like, this is amazing.
I'll see you on the Atom leaderboard. Maybe we'll throw down the workout together.
That's right. Be nice to me, Tommy.
Let's fast forward now to Wodapalooza, which I think was the first time this year, obviously, that you got a chance to get on the competition floor with all the lessons that you had learned from the prior season. Going into Wodapalooza, what were your goals when you stepped on the competition floor?
The goal was to podium. I had made it very clear to my team, like my coach and my training partner and my husband. I'm not going there to have fun. I'm not going there for a nameplate. I'm going to get on the podium and have fun. But that was my number one goal.
And I'm kind of curious because, you did get to compete at Rogue, although it was the previous year. What's the difference in a competition? And I think we tend to look at it. We're like, oh, well, she just had a good competition or a bad competition. They were higher on the leaderboard or they weren't. From an inside athlete's perspective, like what is the difference? What goes right? What doesn't? What is the mindset or mentality, whatever it is that may be different in an event like Wodapalooza, where you do show up and podium, or an event, like Rogue, where you finish 13th?
I hate to say the workouts, but I started Rogue day one I literally got second to last. And it just kind of set the tone for the whole weekend and was kind of like, I felt like all weekend I was trying to climb up the leaderboard. Whereas Wodapalooza, I went in knowing, like I even talked with my coach and my husband, we have to start the first event strong. So kill it on the first event, hopefully in the top 10, top 5. So that way all weekend you're just maintaining, not like this upwards climb. So I think the first event kind of set the tone for the weekend and helped me just maintain, not climb up the leaderboard.
Is that something that's more present at the top of the sport? Because, I don't hear that a ton where like, some athletes, like the first workout does set the tone for the weekend and it kind of sets them on fire. But you do hear some varying feedback about how that plays into it. And so I'm curious if that's something that has always been present for you in the early days at regionals and stuff like that, or is that something that's more unique since you've kind of broken through the games?
Definitely unique. Which it's funny you say that because always at regionals, it was, am I going to do well? Am I going to do well? So going into Wodapalooza and event one, getting third and beating people that I look up to, in my opinion, I was like, okay, everybody who believes in me says I can do it. Now I just proved I can. Hang on to it. Actually, before I was sounding like a mess, before the final event going into the end of Wodapalooza, so the Devil's Press and Toes to Bar, backstage, I was a mess. I was crying. I was like, I don't even know who I was, just because I was like, going into that event, I was third place. And I was like, I worked so hard to get third place. I do not want to get mentally weak in the workout and stop doing the devil's press or let myself down. I was like, this is exactly what I want to be. I don't want to lose this opportunity. So even you could say I've competed and I'm like this high level athlete, I still have moments of weakness where I'm like, how did I get here? I don't want to lose this spot.
Oh man.
What did you do to overcome that?
Oh man. Okay. So number one, my husband's back there and he's so sweet.
Uh-oh.
He no, this is a good one.
Okay.
He said you could get a hot tub if you did.
No, he FaceTimes my daughter, which I don't know if that's better or worse. And so she just tells me, like, I'm getting emotional right now. She's saying, like, hey mom, I love you. She has no idea what's going on. But just to put in perspective, like, I'm not out there to be this amazing Arielle Loewen. Like, I'm having the time of my life, but I get to come home to this cute girl who thinks I'm the best lady in the world. So excuse me, but it was really sweet to just put everything into perspective.
Oh, nice job.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
job. See, that's a good learning experience for your husband.
Yeah.
Stay out of the
He
way,
learned a
let
lot.
the daughter take over. You know?
Right.
just facilitate that. It's always interesting to me because this is something that a lot of athletes that we talk to say, and it's about, they have the nerves and, even the, like, women who have stood on the podium at the games, they have the nerves and they have to learn how to calm them. And then once they learn to kind of just let go, like you just mentioned there, and realize that, hey, I'm just going to go out and do what I do, they tend to perform better. Why do you think that is?
My brother-in-law sent me this awesome article that was like the best in the world, like Olympic athletes, Tia, for example, they channel their nerves into like excitement to compete. Mm-hmm. So it's like they might still get the butterflies, but it's not the butterflies of like scared, timid, nervous butterflies. It's the butterflies of like, you just channel it different. So I've been working on channeling them.
That makes sense because we've heard from Matt Fraser in the years since he's retired that even he like would get nervous to the point of almost being sick, before workouts, even, when he had a massive lead or, he looked like he was in total control, and then eventually was able to kind of bring that in and take that energy and wrap it around for good. I'm curious, because now that you come into this season, having games experience under your belt, the kind of perspective change that maybe has taken place on your end, and how that has affected your preparation and how you view yourself as an athlete with expectations going into this season.
Yeah, my whole perspective is different from last season, because last season was like, hopefully qualify for semis, hopefully qualify. Now this season, it's okay. Right now I'm kind of treating it like my off season. I'm going to do the open, but I don't need to get number one in the open, nor do I need to get 500th in the open. I just need to qualify for quarterfinals. So my mentality this year is kind of just qualify where I need to, so I can peak when I need to at semifinals or at the games. Whereas last year I was trying to peak at every stage because I didn't know if I could or not. So this season I'm excited to do the open, but I already know it's going to be a lot more laid back than it usually is.
What do you think this season would look like hypothetically had you not qualified for the games last year and had the success that you had at the Granite Games, and then the strong showing at Rogue, and then what you did at Wodapalooza?
Honestly, this is going to sound crazy. I'd probably be kind of over competing at CrossFit, and I'd probably be trying to have maybe another kiddo or see what I want to do work wise, just like taking a different fork in the road. I wouldn't pursue CrossFit anymore. I'd be going down the more stay at home mom and stuff like that.
That's crazy. Like just hearing that, because
I know.
It shows the importance of just, not even a full year, but like a singular competition can have on the trajectory.
Oh, totally.
A trajectory.
Well, my husband and I's anniversary is coming up this next week. And our last anniversary, we kind of talked about goals and what do we want our life to look like at 2022 when we sit down for a date again at dinner. And we kind of said the same thing. We're like, hopefully next year at this time, we're thinking about having another kid. We're thinking about you maybe going back to work. And so now when we sit down in a week to have an anniversary dinner, it's like, who knew all that was going to unfold, to where it's like, I can pay the mortgage a little bit and I can still compete. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Very cool.
And to give yourself some credit, you talk about like going back to work. You have an MBA, you have a real
Right.
estate license, so there are options. And it's crazy to me that like I'm still processing like how different 1 year can be,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and with this kind of reevaluation kind of going on. And so I'm curious if you and your husband in the lead up to this 1 year mark, I guess, compared to last year, have had some discussions about that and the perspective as a couple that you've had now that, maybe some things are a little bit different.
Definitely. I don't feel the need to have to go back to work, which is awesome. And I feel like I can contribute to things. I think the hardest thing is, of course, we had to apply to get a mortgage. We had to apply. My husband wants a new truck. Is they ask me like, okay, what does your wife do for work? And to like physically say out loud, I'm a professional athlete and people pay me. Like I even feel goofy saying it. So just like the transition of like, okay, I don't work, but I'm a professional athlete. It just is so cool to say, but so weird to tell someone here in Midland, Texas, because you don't see that every day here.
What are your, other than making it back to the games, but what are your goals for 2022 so that at the end of the season you can look back and you can say, okay, yeah, that was worth it, and I am proud of what I accomplished?
Right. Number one, I want to be healthy. I would hate to have anything bad happen to where I can't pick up my child or my arm hurts, my back hurts. Number two, I'm going to kind of go a little crazy like I did at Wodapalooza. And if I could be top 10 at the games, I'd be extremely happy.
Wow. That'd be great.
I love it. Yeah.
I know.
Well, I'm always curious to hear from, games rookies, with some time and separation between the games experience. What are a few things that really stood out to their mind, like on the competition floor? Because, you talk about, how different it was behind the scenes, managing all that stress. But if there were a couple of moments that you were able to soak in and really enjoy and celebrate from your time physically competing on the floor.
Definitely the squat clean ladder, where it was a smaller chunk of weight and then the run got shorter and then it was a heavier chunk of weight. I didn't expect to make it past the first barbell, and then I did. I didn't expect to make it past the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. I didn't expect to clear it at all. So out there on the competition floor, I just had so much fun, like running a little victory lap and then cleaning the weight again, running a victory lap, cleaning again, and then ending up on the top of that, I guess, the finish mat. It was just such a cool experience.
There's an awesome photo I remember seeing of you from that. I think maybe standing up the last bar and just like,
right,
just letting loose as you stood it up. That was, I actually have awesome. That logged in my head, but yeah.
That's awesome. I love it.
I'm guessing that your daughter, like you mentioned with the call at Wodapalooza, doesn't really understand what it is that you do.
No, but she does know if I wear my games jerseys or my games leggings, she sees the symbol and she goes, oh, CrossFit Games. And she can like recognize the CrossFit Games symbol, which I don't know if that's understanding or not. She's only 3, but she'll see me on TV when she stays at grandma and grandpa's house when I compete. But I don't think it goes much other than that.
As she gets older and starts to, figure out that her mom's pretty dang cool, what are the things that you hope that she takes away from watching you do what you do?
I hope she sees that. Actually, my husband makes fun of me all the time, but I have a tattoo on my rib that says strength is beauty. I hope she sees that it's okay to be woman and strong and powerful, because I got made fun of a lot in high school because I looked different and I was a little bit stronger. So I hope she sees that it's more normal and it's okay. But I also hope she sees that just because I CrossFit and I'm obsessed with it, I don't expect her to do that at all. If she wants to do basketball or golf or whatever, she can. But like, this is my thing and that's okay. You don't have to love it.
Some awesome words for sure. But I'm always curious too. You mentioned that, like, growing up, it was a point of adversity for you, getting made fun of because you look different, and because of like your physicality and your sporting background. I'm curious what sort of things helped you ultimately be able to process that and get through that and be able to celebrate yourself to the point where you do have that kind of mantra of sorts tattooed on your body.
Yeah, I'm an achiever. I think that's the Enneagram. So I find success, whatever, in my achievements. So I think in high school, I was extremely good at cheer and I could do flips. So I think me being strong helped me to do those flips. So I owned it more. Made it to state for the hurdles. So it's like the little accomplishments that the people who would make fun of me would just be in class. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm out here competing and succeeding at it. I'm proud of my body because it can do awesome things. So I just think that process helped me figure out like, this is cool because I'm going to go farther and I'm going to take this farther because I'm a little bit different.
What hurdles events did you run? Did you run
100 and I succeeded at the 300, but I did the 100.
Okay. I was the opposite. I was a 110 guy, but I ran the 300 out of like my coach forced me to.
But you're a little bit taller, right?
Yeah, and I'm like 3/4 leg. Like my for lack of a better visual, my nipples and my hip bones are next to each other, so it kind of worked out that way.
It's a good look.
Yeah, you've mentioned the stuff that you've learned as an athlete the past couple of years or the past year. Mm-hmm. What have you learned about yourself as a person though through this whole experience?
A lot. I learned that I'm mentally weak, and then as soon as I start relying on myself or my own strength or my own ability, that's when it falls apart, or I get scared or I get emotional, like backstage. I've just learned, I truly believe God brought me through this season and helped me succeed through this season. So I need to just follow what he wants me to do next.
Man, I'm just kind of going through your old competitive history, and I'm like, it seems so
it's crazy
interesting that like, you have this really good year at regionals. You have, I don't know what went into 2015, a setback as far as like placement and finish. And then you kind of stick with it a little while, you take a step back. And like, was there a point where did you really think that like, I was done, this games dream was gone, and I'm going to compete for a little bit or whatever it may be, but like had you checked out at some point?
Oh yeah. Once I was pregnant, I kind of saw it as, if I couldn't make it before I was pregnant, how am I going to magically come back stronger and more fit after a baby? Because just of everything, all the horror stories you hear. So 2000, right after COVID hit, I felt good at the gym and I took control of my diet. So I started eating really clean and I was the lightest I'd ever been. And I was just moving really, really well in the gym. So we'll say COVID year of September. So 2020, September, we retested one of the open workouts, which was 10 rounds for time, 8 power snatches, and 10 bar facing burpees. Was that 18.1 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know which one? Yeah. So we retested that.
The 10 rounds you said?
10 rounds, 8 power snatches, 10 bar facing burpees.
I think that was 19-1, right? That was when
19-1.
Handshake and Froning went head to head at Rogue. Austin?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was 19-1.
Okay, so I retested 19-1. At this point, knowing that I'm retired, I'm just going to CrossFit every day because I love it. And I did it in 8 minutes. So I was like, okay, just for fun, I'm going to look to see where that is on the leaderboard back then. And it was like top 20 in the world. So after I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm on to something. Let's try this again. And then I got with my old coach and we kind of prepped for the open, and then it's all history from there.
And now that you've had this sort of renewed love for competing and confidence that you can compete, you've mentioned some of the other stuff that you want to, do as far as expanding your family, maybe pursuing other professional options. But when will you know it's like, okay, I think it's time now that I can go focus on those things and CrossFit can take a back seat?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm hoping it's not an injury. Like, I pray that that's not what it is. I hope I can leave like Carrie Pierce did, where she's like, hey, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then she's done. I have no idea though.
Yeah. Have you thought about what your ideal sort of, that's the right time to go out would be?
I have mine and then I have my husband's. My husband's his would be for me to go to the games for like 4 more years and then call it good. Yeah. Mine would be just as long as I'm healthy, as long as I feel good, I'm going to ride this train. until I hate saying this, but until it derails or I'm forced to get off.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. I got one more. I only have one more question, and it pertains to, I guess, your identity as a woman and as an athlete too. Because just hearing you talk about, you're thinking that if you didn't make it before, having a kid, that it wouldn't happen. And I think particularly in the last few years, we've seen at the forefront elite women in the sport not only step aside to grow their family, but come back as good, if not better than they've ever been. And so I'm just kind of curious where that your sense of identity and where your, self-worth as a woman has kind of benefited from that. And if that's been the case, and what has been kind of the overall benefit for you in that regard, because you did have a kid and then you showed up and you blasted, your expectations out of the water.
Oh, good question. I don't know if I have a specific, this is what happened. I still feel like I got lucky and I'm just riding this get lucky train, but I know that's not the case. I really do think having a kid, I said this on one interview I did, the doctor tells you the whole time, like, listen to your body. How does your heart rate feel? Is it getting too high? Are you taking deep breaths? Does your legs hurt? Do your arms hurt? So 9 months of just your training to connect to your body, your breathing, your muscles. And so after Blakely was born, I felt like I was way more aware of how my body felt, to where I'd be doing a 20-minute AMRAP, and instead of going balls to the wall on the first 10 minutes and I'm dead, I would have control of my heart rate the whole time. And just learning, okay, my heart rate's getting too far up, I need to breathe more, and just connecting mind and body, as weird as that sounds, really has helped me. And then, I don't know, it's inspiring to see other moms in the sport succeed like Annie. So that really does help me, and know that it's not like just a fluke, like it can happen. But I also do think we worked hard before pregnancy, so we're going to work hard after. I would hate for some moms to see this and be like, I can make it to the games. And it's like, don't do anything crazy that you wouldn't have done before you had a kid. Like, be smart. If you're used to CrossFitting every day, keep doing it after. If you're not, now is not the time to kill it and hurt yourself.
Well, Arielle, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Best of luck moving forward, and hope everything goes according to plan this year, so that we can see you back in Madison, and maybe there'll be some new granite countertops in your future.
Right. I like it. Hey, thanks for having me, guys.